Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put their passion first, so let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.
Yeah, my nerdy passion basically is drawing.
I'll let you guess, but yeah, D&D. I do a lot of that.
Correct. I'm a breeder of tarantulas, importing tarantulas and some other critters.
I am a small, independent board game designer.
I wanted to make props for D&D.
I am a LARPer. I dress up in funny clothes and pretend to be other people and hit my friends with sticks sometimes.
Well, welcome to Nerdpreneur, where we have fun conversations with nerds making money from their nerdy passion. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Frank.
Hey, yo.
And we have an awesome special guest today that we are excited to talk to. Her name is Melanie, and her Instagram is Melegie. And hi, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm great.
Awesome. So happy to have you here and appreciate you coming on the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about what your nerdy passion is and how you got into it?
Okay. Let's see. I am a harpist. I do mainly Celtic harp, but I like to play video game songs, like songs from nerdy TV shows, and I like to do cosplay and get dressed up. So it's something that kind of just started to happen in the last couple years, actually. So it's all new and very exciting to me.
Well, let's start with the harp, because there was a lot in there. I know you've cultivated a real aesthetic for your whole page and what you do, and it's really grown quickly. When did you start playing harp?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. I think what gave me the inspiration, I played a lot of League of Legends in college. I liked to play a lot of video games, like computer games like that. And I loved to main this one champion called Sona. She played the bottom row, if you're familiar with League, and she's kind of support character, but she played the harp. And she was so badass. She would do these different chords to attack the enemies. And I loved her. And I was actually kind of obsessed with her. I had all of her skins, and people would gift me her skins, which are basically different looks for the champion and different clothes and stuff. And so she almost I don't want to say that she became an obsession or anything, but people kind of knew me as maining Sona. So I think that is what sparked it. When I graduated college, I do graphic design, so I went to art school. I got myself a little harp on Amazon as a graduation gift. And I had never touched a harp my entire life, but I said, okay, I'm just gonna see what happens. I love how it sounds. I want to be as badass as Sona is, but real life Sona.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it started. I got this little, $200 harp, which is very cheap as far as harps go. Actually, probably more $300, called a harpsicle. It only has 2 octaves and it sounds really tinny, but I still have it, and you can actually see me playing it in a lot of my videos.
It's like a portable harp.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Most harps aren't very portable, because I've seen your videos. You have some that are bigger than that too, and some that you can just play on a beach or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I love my harpsicle because it's so lightweight, and it comes with a guitar strap. So you can just kind of sling it over your shoulder and walk around with this harp. So it's very portable, and I love that aspect of it. My big harp that you see in my videos is significantly larger and heavier, and I actually have a difficult time even moving it around the room. So that's not going to go to the beach.
It looks massive.
Yeah, I definitely can't think of a more portable thing like a harp. It feels like a piece of furniture in the house versus something that's like a musical instrument, similar to a piano, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking about a piano.
So you've been playing for a while, and obviously did you always say, oh, I want to do video game music with it, or did that just sort of evolve out of your own interests? Also, like, you have the other side, which is all Celtic music, right?
Yeah, I've always loved the sound of Celtic music, and a few years ago I did this like DNA test. I have a twin sister, so together we like did this test. It showed that we're like mostly from the British Isles, which is where a lot of this like Celtic world, like where it originates. And I just like I was like, that's so cool, you know. And I traced, like, we were able to trace our lineage, even like Vikings, and so I'm a big history buff. So there's something about Celtic music that has this ancient energy to it. When I'm playing an old Celtic song, it's almost like I'm tapping into my ancestry and like the history from this like really cool, you know, rich in like folk tales and like, you know, fairies and like magical stories. It's almost like I'm bringing that to life for a moment. And I've always been very into fantasy stuff. So that's kind of like me bringing fantasy to life, making it like real.
That's very cool.
I feel you on that. I definitely, so a bit of my background, I did a similar test, DNA test, and I found out that I have a lot of similar areas, you know, northwestern and northern Europe. So, but for me, I don't play the harp. I don't have that so much, but the ocean definitely gives that, and I think that's a mix of like that Viking and the
Yes.
British sailors.
I just drink scotch. Yeah,
There you go.
because I've got Scottish in me, so that's I guess why I drink scotch. Nothing as elegant or decadent as the ocean or harping. But is that the right term for it? Harping or harpist? Like, harping feels wrong. I don't know.
That's actually a really interesting, that's a really good question, because there are two different words for it. And you're right, a harper is a harpist who originated like from the British Isles, from Ireland, from Scotland, and they play Celtic music. They're called a harper. And the kind of more concerty, big grand harp that you know you think about when you're watching an orchestra, that's you'd call that person a harpist. I mean, nobody really follows those rules, but I thought that was kind of a fun fact.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm curious how, you know, you're playing your music. When was there this moment for you that I want to make a video or I want to make a post? What was the first moment that you brought your hobby to the internet?
Oh my gosh, it's like such a nice memory to think of my very first video. And I did, I'm trying to think who composed it. It's this Renaissance piece called The Robin by, I think it's John Mundy, and he was about from the 1500s or so. But let's see, so I had been playing for so long and I wanted to have an audience, but I also didn't really want to like play for my friends and family because I was nervous. And I figured maybe I'll make this anonymous Instagram, you know, record some videos and just upload them, make it super casual, and only strangers are going to see it. And nobody I know, so nobody will see me like, you know, making mistakes or whatever. And from that, you know, it started to kind of snowball. And I also realized, oh my gosh, I love this. And, you know, people started to reach out to me saying, I love that piece of music. You know, I've been having headaches all week and your music has helped me, you know, like alleviate some of that. And I felt so good that I was reaching, they're strangers, but they're just people from all over the world. Like it's like something I never thought about, you know, just like humans, like you and me.
Yeah.
And then I realized I was obsessed with that feeling of helping. Somehow doing what I love to do is like kind of helping people, helping someone to even just make their day a little better. You know, if they just hear a song that perks them up, or maybe they're stressed and hearing the harp helps to relax them. You know, I became addicted to that. I like, oh, so yeah.
Well, that's really, I actually really love that point you just hit on. You felt the fire, the passion from helping people. And, something that
Yes.
we're hearing is that people who build their brands and their businesses, especially if there's a strong online or social media component, they are driven by the engagement that they get with these other people. So I'm curious, did that first video when you started to, or in the beginning, when you started to get those engagements, did it take off, or was it just a very few people who actually responded?
It started off small, and I'm trying to think. I think I also posted it to Reddit, like under a different Reddit name. But I had like a lot of people reach out to me over Reddit. Like it. Oh my gosh, it was amazing, And at this time, I didn't consider myself a harpist. I didn't really, take it seriously. I considered myself very much just, this is just a hobby that I'm not very good at, so it was very low on my radar of my like future plans. It was yeah, just like a kind of like a thing gathering dust, that I would like hearing from these people. It really like stirred something in me.
You said that it was gathering dust. Now, I really want to know what you were doing at the time for a day job, say.
I'm a graphic designer, corporate. Yeah, I was corporate Mel, doing like that 9 to 5.
Yeah, you're probably not getting the engagement of, wow, your art really helped soothe my headache. You're very likely not going to hear that in the corporate world.
Yeah, you're now in the solution to the headache world as opposed to the cause of the headache world.
Yeah, right.
Yes, exactly.
One of the things that I really noticed on your Instagram specifically is you have a very strong aesthetic as far as, I guess it's the aesthetic of you, right? Like the choice with your hair and with like the way that you frame your angles and and the dress and also the cosplay and all that. I guess I'm leaning towards that kind of core value question is, what are the choices from a design standpoint that you make to make sure something looks like it's Melegie?
This is a really good question. Oh man. I think, well, let's see. I decided to dye my hair pink because my friend, this was was it the start of the pandemic? Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. And I didn't really like pink very much.
Well then.
But she convinced me we both dye our hair pink together. And I think I had like dark purple hair before that. And it's so crazy because it like stuck, and it really has become kind of like a core part of my identity. I wasn't really like a pink person before this, but I just realized it fits really well with like my personality and with the kind of vibe that I give off, this like carefree, whimsical, pretty like positive, and like bubbly person. So yeah, it's definitely become like a staple, and I recently did the split hair thing. So my right side is purple and my left side is pink. And that almost adds even more to like this like dreamy vibe.
And you can shoot one side with certain aesthetic and the other side a totally different aesthetic, right?
Oh man, that's an idea.
Like-
You can do the Gemini, the split personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. So is there, as far as what Chris kind of touched on a little bit that I wanted to bring back, the values that you have identified for what you're building, have you, I mean, someone with your background and your graphic design, I'm sure there's values and concepts that you apply. And I don't know though, if some of these that you don't want to share, but I'm curious, what it is that you want to accomplish. So the core values that fuel you, that help give you direction in what you are creating and the content that you create.
So it's interesting as I think about that question, and I was actually just thinking about what I do, how it is influenced or how it is related to graphic design. And in a way, I think I've always rebelled. I think that I almost am rebelling against that graphic design, that graphic designer that I was. And well, I am. I still do it, And graphic design is basically all about, it's different from art, where it's all about rules, and it's all about structure and grids and clear communication, and that is graphic design. And it's funny because I've spent so many years of my life doing that, where it's a part of who I am. But I'm also just kind of like, fuck the rules. I've never liked rules. I don't like arbitrary rules. I want to do my own thing. I was tired of following the rules all the time, and now I'm like, this is my outlet where I'm going to do what I want to do. If I don't feel like following the rules, I'm not going to follow the rules. I think that in a way, that's what also makes Melegie stand out too, is because it's very sporadic, and there really isn't a very serious structure to it. I mean, besides kind of having a very pink and happy vibe.
Yeah.
Well, here's something I really like about what you were saying is it sounds like one of your core values is aligned to being authentically you, right? And
Yeah.
one of the reasons we decided, Frank and I, to start this podcast was to actually find people exactly like you that are doing them and finding a way to do them in a way that actually turns them into a brand or something that can actually support them and make money. Because I think there's a lot of people that don't realize that it's possible nowadays to do that. You have, as you were saying, the rules. You have to follow the rules and go out there and go to school and get a job and go this. And all these rules from the past that were given to us are now becoming uprooted and shifted and changed in today's environment. And I really think that there's so many examples of people who are making what they want and it's working for them, and they're finding their audience, and people are getting excited to support what they really love. And I want to highlight that, and ideally also hear from how people like you are doing it so that others can be inspired to do it too.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think that you really hit the nail on the head there, where we've grown up our whole lives being told to follow the rules, and we have these expectations. We go to school, we go to college, we graduate, we get a job, but we do this, we do that, and and that's just what we think is the path to success, but it's really not. Sometimes you just have to do the scary thing and say, you know what, I'm gonna not do that and see what happens, and I feel very privileged that I was able to do that. I think that ultimately the most important thing is to really talk to yourself, go inwards, ask yourself, what do I want to do? What are my dreams? What makes me happy? What makes me happy? And I think that if you chase those things within you that make you you, I think that success will come. Because at least for me, when I'm doing what I love, when I do something that makes me happy, I do a really good job at it. And the world can see that. And I mean, I think that everybody has a unique and special gift that the world needs. I think it's doing a disservice to the world and to themselves if you're not really chasing your dreams.
Yeah,
that is so awesome. Yeah, I think that's so important that people hear that. One of the things I want to, I guess, notice, you said to go inwards and to look within and to do that. And what's interesting is in your story, you not only did that, but you also were influenced outwards by a lot of things that were exciting to you, whether it was the Harpist and the video game. And I think that people have to be willing to try something new to be able to find the things that really make them happy. Because it sounds to me like you weren't going into this being I'm going to go to graphic design and I'm going to take the harp and I'm going to make everything look really good. And then everybody's going to, it's going to blow up on Instagram. You're going to see this. I've got it all planned out. No one has any idea that, but you were willing to try stuff that you weren't doing before. And all of a sudden it started to move in a direction that I call that the flow of the universe. That's kind of trusting a little bit when you go try something. That you're on the right path.
Absolutely. I think you're right that, putting yourself in situations where you try something new is so important. And it's also how we grow. If we're not doing new things, if we're not like exposing ourselves to new ideas or new situations, we're not growing. And I think if we're not growing, we're not living. I want to be living every day. I want to be discovering every day. And it makes me feel like so alive and happy. So I think that everybody should try to do like, a new thing, as often as they can. And even if it's scary, I think it's better to just close your eyes and jump, right? Because what do you have to lose? I mean, you don't want to be stuck in the same job the rest of your life wondering what if, I don't want to be that person.
I wanted to actually ask a little bit more about what you do is like there's music that you put out, but you've got so much more than just that going on, really. Like you have a large Discord community that has now become pretty active and thriving. And I'm curious about the dynamics of like when did it become apparent you should create that community and how did that process really go?
Oh my gosh, so it must have been a few months ago. And I love to communicate with my followers. And I mean, one of the really big driving factors to Instagram and to my music was being able to engage with them and really get to know them. I mean, I really loved messaging my followers like one-on-one and yeah, just like getting to know them. But it soon got to a point as I was growing where it was really, really hard for me to, keep up with with the same people, my followers who I loved and, would talk to, but then all of these new people every day. And soon it was like my mailbox would just absolutely fill up. Yeah, I remember at one point there was something like 400 unread messages, and that's when I was like, oh my god, like it became really hard for me to do that. And I also had these feelings of guilt. I was taking days to respond to people instead of being fairly active. And then it put me in a weird place too, because it made me so happy to have a relationship with these people, and all of a sudden there was more of a disconnect because I wasn't able to talk and foster these relationships anymore, just because it was just physically impossible to do all of that and and just try to fit it into a day. It was impossible. So somebody said, well, you should make a Discord, and and instead of messaging people like one-on-one, it's more of a community. So I did, and it started like a pretty like slow growth. A lot of my followers, much prefer the kind of one-on-one, like messaging on Instagram, but like a fair amount have come over to Discord, and we really have created this really wonderful and fun community. We have movie nights, and it's just kind of a very, very open and accepting atmosphere where people can share whatever they want and be as quirky and creative and weird or whatever as they want. And it's just like totally accepted. And I mean, I love that. That's another thing I wasn't expecting to come out of this, but a few people have told me that, especially during the pandemic, it's really hard to have that sense of community, and that like, my Discord has been like really helpful to some people and kind of like being that. So that makes me really happy to hear that you're right. It's not just harp music. It's more than that, and it's still growing every day.
I'm curious for building a community, if someone
Mhm.
else was wanting to do what you've done, because you've done it fairly successfully, like what advice would you give them if they wanted to build out a community like you have on Discord?
Let's see. I think it's important to have like a following outside of Discord first. Like I think
Mhm.
it would be really hard to just to just make a Discord without already having a little bit of a following. I think
Totally.
Mhm.
I don't even know how actually. Like I know that there's
Yeah.
kind of like I know that there's a search bar like in Discord channels and stuff, but I've never used it, and I don't know. I think that it's important to already have that connection outside of
Mhm.
Discord to be able to like kind of come from some place and then use Discord as a like a house, where every people come from all over to kind of like congregate and like check in, or like a communal house or communal space, or
Yeah.
yeah, or people could come and yeah, so they don't necessarily just like walk in your house off the street. They'll like meet you somewhere
Yeah.
else, like
I really like that actually.
this is
Yeah.
just a metaphor.
Well, I like the metaphor of the house because it's not just because you do like movie nights at the house, right? And people
Yeah,
are getting together on a regular night for a movie night, or you have events or rooms for people to be able to go hang out in if
yeah.
they really like certain things. Like I actually think the house analogy is a really good one for creating a community and a Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think that it's important to have people who actively like supporting. Like, I have some great mods because I can't be on it all the time, so it's like nice to have, yeah, people who will kind of, I don't want to say keep the show going when I'm not there because it's not like that at all, but just to have like support. So I'm really lucky where I have some. I mean, everybody in my Discord is wonderful, all of the members, but I'm very grateful for my awesome mods. They're like, I mean, honestly, it really feels like we're all friends or like a family.
hmm One of the questions that we end up asking people is, what is some advice that you may have received in your niche that you think is actually terrible advice?
Okay. Oh man, I might have to think about this one. This is like specific, but I know that I have been given some advice that it's like what, and I can't like think of anything like specifically right now, but I think that what's important is do do what you want to do, just because receiving advice from people, it can be helpful, but like it doesn't matter what anyone else says. Like do it because you want to do it. And I think that the biggest thing is to trust your gut. Just if something doesn't feel right, or if they give you advice that you don't want to do, like don't do it, like it's not worth it. And I think that it's something that we all have had to learn.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I think the older I get, the more I trust my gut on things because the gut seems to grow with age and like it tends
Yeah.
to get a little bit smarter with age and experience too, right? So
Yeah.
trust your
Yeah.
gut even when you're young.
Exactly. I think that the more we trust our gut and communicate and listen to it, like the better we get, like at communicating and growing with it. So
Yeah.
it just like you get better and better at it. Yeah, and then it almost just becomes second nature.
Mhm. Yeah.
Here's a question I have for you. Like, what's the future for Melegie? Are you looking to potentially like put out an album, or are you looking to like compose music for a game or for people if they wanted it for their campaigns or something? Like, I'm just curious. Do you have any future aspirations in that way?
Oh, heck yeah. I have so many plans and goals and dreams, and that's why it's like Melegie is just a little bud right now, and like there's so much exciting potential. So that's also why it's like, such an exciting time for me because I could, there's so much I can do and I want to do. I absolutely want to start doing some composition, and I did. I composed a song a couple months ago, and that's like I would love to release an album, and people are always asking for, when is your album coming out? You know, so it's like something that I'm very, very excited to start working on and plan for. So that's on my radar, absolutely.
Is there anything else that you really want to do under the Melegie brand? It doesn't have to be music related either. Like,
Yeah,
where else
of
do you
course.
see it going?
I mean, maybe there's something that you'd like to plug kind of for your listeners to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I'm gonna start streaming soon on Twitch. You know, that's like, another thing that everybody is asking about. So streaming is kind of like that big goal that I've been working towards. And I'm excited, to kind of have that Melegie presence with streaming. And I think that that's also going to be another way to kind of have a community and to be more engaged, with my followers. So I'm super pumped about streaming. Things are like opening up after it's the pandemic is ongoing, but we're not as closed off as we were. And I'm gonna be playing like different events. Like I'm playing. I'm actually playing a Luciferian service in early fall. Yeah. And people, yeah. And so there's a lot of there's things in Boston that are happening, like live events. So it's cool. Like, right now, Melegie is all virtual, and yet there's the real world, that has exciting opportunities, and people are always reaching out to me. So that's a whole new frontier of the real dimension, Melegie appearing in the in the body. So yeah, so I mean, gosh, there is so much that is coming.
That's very cool. And it's so much of a testament to being like, if you put yourself out there and start moving in the direction and again, like adjust as needed to grow and get better and keep cultivating that, eventually opportunities come to you, right? I
Yes,
mean, I know
exactly.
we reached out to you to come on the podcast, but I was going to guess that you've probably had people asking you to play, or I mean, I don't know how to say that,
Yeah,
Luciferian service.
yeah.
That's a Luciferian service. I think I've said that right. But like, that's got to be a unique, opportunity for them
Yeah.
to bring in a harpist to do that. Like, that's pretty cool.
Right.
You must spend, I mean, is it really, you do have your hand in so many different things. It sounds like you're just very busy doing that. Is it really busy every
Oh,
day? Like, or do you have
oh,
just
every
habits that you
day.
do every day for that?
Oh, every day.
Wow.
Yeah. I fill every hour. I try to be as productive as I can. And I mean, I love it. It hardly feels like working, but it's definitely a lot of work, especially, reminding myself to like promote, or, oh, I have to remember to post this, on YouTube, and then I have to post about it on my other platforms to say, hey, check out this video. So, the self-promoting is one thing that like, whew, it can get tiring. You can probably, if you talk to my followers, I'm not the greatest at it. It works out.
Right.
Do you have like a schedule where you're like, I'm making content between this time and this time, and I do that every day, or is it more free form for you, and you kind of make it happen
Yeah.
based on, yeah.
So I have a little calendar thing, and I'm surrounded by 4 notebooks. Actually, as we're speaking, I have notebooks everywhere. I'm always jotting down ideas on my phone. I'm more like I'll have ideas, or I'll wake up in the morning and I'll write down, okay, I need to do these things today, and I'll kind of give myself, just to keep myself like on task, like I'll give myself a range, I'll be like, okay, try to do this. This will probably take 3 hours, blah, 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 just to kind of like keep myself accountable. I definitely don't follow it to like the minute or anything, but it just kind of helps keep me motivated, as I'm doing this. Basically, this is like a one-woman show, and I'm making it happen. So I use things like calendars and notebooks as just kind of like a little guide for myself, but I don't adhere to the structures like rigidly at all. I definitely do my best when I feel like I have a vast area of creation, like with limitless possibility. And that's also why I'm a little bit of a night owl. I love, just kind of having all night to, if I'm working on a new song, and you know, and I don't have a deadline. I can forget about time for a while and just immerse myself in music or in art, you know, or a new idea. And that's important to me. And I'm just so happy that I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
I totally relate to that as far as like music or projects or even editing these podcasts. It's like the night is your friend. You can just go until it's done. And
Yeah.
nobody's going to bother you after like a certain
Yeah.
time, that time
Yeah.
between like midnight and 3 a.m. when everyone else. I would never talk to someone at this hour. I love that because you just be productive and get things done.
Oh, absolutely. Hyper focus. And I
Yeah.
I probably pull about one all-nighter a week too. So, you know, and that's when I'm as you know, the most productive and I get, you know, I feel the most me, you know, and the most Melegie, you know, is usually you know, those all-nighters. You know, I love watching the sun come up and sort of feeling like, you know, I'm not adhering to like what's expected, you know. I don't have to. I'll
when-
be a vampire if I want to be.
I hate watching the sunrise. It's just a personal thing. I just can't say because
Really?
it tells me like, oh no, I can't watch the sunrise because then I've like not gotten any good sleep. And so I would rather wake up and watch the sunrise early than
Oh
be
wow,
awake.
I'm the opposite. I could not. Yeah, I cannot. I can't get up early. I think the only time I could watch the sunrise is literally if I just stay up all night long.
That's pretty much been the only time I've ever seen it either. Because once you get into the flow of things, you don't want to get out of it. You got to keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's how I've always been too.
Well, I've heard from musicians and people who do this kind of work that once you capture the spirit or you've got your flow going, you don't want to, you just like when you're creative, that's when you have to take advantage of it. And you just got to do
Yes.
that until it ends.
Yeah.
And if you
Right,
don't capture it,
exactly.
it's maybe lost whatever that creation was
Yes.
going to be.
It's
So,
fleeting, you know, and it's
Yeah.
something that I can't pencil in. Okay, from 2 to 5 today, I'm going to be really creative and compose a new piece. You know, I'm the type of person where I need to have that inspiration, that spark, and you know, and I have to really feel it with my heart, and that's
Yeah.
when the magic happens. So I can't, you know, I can't pencil in the magic.
Yeah, that flow state. Yeah,
I love
it's
that
not
quote.
easy.
That's a great quote. You can't pencil in the magic.
That's like a bad, I don't know, it's like a bad pop song or
It'd
something.
be the kind of thing on a Lisa Frank binder.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh, it's like written on a pencil. Oh,
Yeah, right.
I could make that. I could make that my merch. It's gonna be like my new merch like thing.
Yeah, I think you should actually. Yeah,
It's like an italicized font with like the
yeah,
quotations.
I'd buy that, and then
When someone's writing,
Yeah, somebody's writing it.
can I get it on like a hand towel or something that I can take like when I
Oh.
go to the gym, and it's like really
my
like
God.
pink and bright and rainbowy. And I'll just like
Oh.
have that around my shoulders. I'd love that. That'd be great.
I'm just imagining like 80s style art where there's like, you know, I could just like that kid who's like you know, it's like that school portrait and he's got his like tuba, but then he has like his face like floating above, you know, and it's just, and then you have it in like this dreamy typeface.
I think if we make merch for every episode, that's what's on the merch. So
Yeah, we'll do a
which,
collaboration.
which is the thing I think would be really fun
Oh
one
my
day to
God.
be like every episode gets a piece of merch, but
Ooh, ooh.
we'll see. I know podcasts that do that. They actually have like a piece of merch, like they have a phrase or something funny that comes out of whatever that episode is, and it becomes a
stressing
person
out
merch.
about the logistics, man.
I love it. Oh my God, I love it. It's just like a meme.
I don't stress. I'm a big picture person. I don't stress on logistics. Frank's very much more the logistics guy, where he's like,
Logistics
I don't know if we can do that, man. I don't know. That's a lot of work. Trust me, man. This is the big picture stuff. This is what'll get them all in. They'll be excited. They get their own t-shirt.
Yeah, okay, Chris. Yeah, okay, Chris. Yeah, okay, Chris.
Nerdpreneur empire. No. Like the whole thing with Nerdpreneur is kind of like the last guy we interviewed was a guy who breeds tarantulas, for example.
Oh
That's a
my God, that's so
completely,
cool.
completely different area than where we are.
Wow,
We interviewed
tarantulas.
a board game designer. We interviewed someone who was an artist who does like animation and D&D art. Like here we have a magician who's a zombie magician coming up.
Yeah.
Are you
So
kidding?
because these are people that are well known in their niche, but a lot of other people are just not aware that it's a niche.
Yeah.
They're like,
Oh,
you can make
yeah.
money doing that? It's like, yes,
Yeah.
you can. There's so many things. So
That's really cool. Like telling me about the other people that you're having on this show, like the person who breeds tarantulas. Like, I mean, I love that because it's true. Something like that is nerdy, but I think that like the average Joe, when you ask them, when you say like, oh, what's a nerd or what is nerdy, usually they think of something like what we were saying, like Star Wars, or like somebody who's really into math or like space, but nerdy, like I think one of the questions,
how would you define a nerd?
yeah, I think I was thinking about it, and I think that it's someone who's just like very passionate, about like exactly what this is all about a niche, about something, so like specific, and they're just, their knowledge of it is, it's just kind of like their world. So I think that, anybody could be a nerd without being like the stereotypical nerd that we think of, if you're really into something, and it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing. I love being a nerd. I have books of medieval manuscripts, in my bookcase. I'm a big art nerd, and I like weird music, and I mean that's something I pride myself in, of my knowledge and my interest in it, so
Yeah, I just wanted to add a nerd. One of the things that Chris and I connect on is that a nerd is someone that when you talk to them about what they're nerdy about, you see the light and you see the passion and the fire in their eyes, and you get inspired a little bit. You're like, wow,
Yeah.
I want to hear more. Maybe I don't care about this passion you have, but I care about hearing about it from you.
Yeah, somebody who I can think of in my life who had, major, what's that word? Influence on me growing up was actually my dad, obviously influence, but he's like the big nerd of my life. Like our house growing up was filled with antique bottles. And he loves history, and he was obsessed with like digging up old antique bottles that he would located on maps that are like 100 years old or more, on these really really old maps, and figuring out where he could find really really old things, and he would do it, and it was so cool. Our house growing up was like almost like a bottle workshop, and he was like, he had books all about them, and you can really like learn so much. And he's the type of person, if like you could ask him anything about it, he's like an encyclopedia of information. So I
That's so
definitely
cool.
get a little bit of my very intense like passion nerdiness from him.
So your dad was literally like a treasure hunter in some way. Like he had
Yeah.
treasure maps that he was going
Yes.
around. Like X marks the spot. He goes and finds a bottle there somehow.
Yeah.
That's such a unique quality.
Yeah, like usually along streams, or, in New England, especially in the woods where there were farmlands like 200 or more years ago. You know that because of the stone walls is how people separated, their land. And that's a lot of the time along the borders is where people threw, their trash, and stuff like that. So you could go there today and you could probably find some really cool stuff. It's all about like knowing where to look, but yeah, it's really fun.
Totally.
That is.
So now that you're building up followers and you're growing, I'm curious, like if you had 1 million followers, what advice would you give them?
If I had 1 million followers right now, I mean, I guess like kind of what I already say to my followers, especially if I'm talking to a follower who's feeling a little down, or they're feeling a little like directionless, or they're feeling lost in life, which I think is extremely, I think everybody feels that way. And I think it's very normal to feel that way. And it's kind of a part of our human desire to have direction in our lives. I think that when we're feeling a little lost or directionless, is actually a really exciting time, because it's that moment is when, it's when the spark, it's when you have like the flint, and that's when the spark happens. You have nothing, but then you have you have an idea, and it's basically the potential that is so exciting. So I think that people really should trust themselves and figure out what they want to do. I'm like reiterating what I said before, but really go after your dreams. Oh my God, I know everybody says that, and it's like nobody wants to hear that shit, right? Because it's kind of like, it sounds like bullshit. But I think that there's different ways of interpreting that sentence to mean something personally. If we're feeling lost, that's the best time, because that's when we discover something new. So don't think of it as if there's nothing. It's the opposite of nothing. It's everything, and it's the potential for everything. So I think that your mindset is important. Try to be optimistic and tell yourself, I am a person full of endless ideas, and really, like, I have a unique brain, and something unique that the world, that I can offer the world. And so really approach it with like an optimistic mindset, and you'll be so surprised to see how far that will take you, and you'll be really surprised with yourself too.
That's awesome. I mean, I love the trust yourself in that is so key, to step out of anywhere where you are. You have to trust yourself, and I hope that everybody listens to that, because that's so important.
The power of mindset that you mentioned, that is a huge thing to me. And I mean, I won't go off, but I'm really having to pull the reins back here on all of this like purpose and meaning, and I love it. And I also just want to call out how cool it is that what you just said, the advice you just gave, ties into what you were saying earlier about what really pulled you into this in the first place was, healing and helping and engaging with people. And the advice you just gave would be something that's healing and helping someone that might need it. So that's so cool.
I was gonna say, following your heart too, right? Like, so many people are, I think, afraid to do that, or they're afraid to follow where their heart is taking them, and it's probably taking you somewhere for a reason. So you should try.
Exactly. Yes. I absolutely believe it. Sometimes we just, and it's scary, having to kind of blindly follow something through the darkness. But I mean, that's what the frontier is. It's mysterious and it's dark, and we don't know what to expect. But that's how we discover new things. And it's like in a video game when you're exploring new territory and it's dark on the map. You have to just go right for it, There's nothing else you can do.
That's right. You can't. And how boring does it get if you just knew what everything was coming, right?
Oh,
Imagine
yeah.
it's like playing the same dungeon over and over and over again. Just because you can't beat it is so frustrating, because you know it's coming. But that first time through is like the best, right? Because it's so much more exciting.
Oh,
Now,
adrenaline.
Some people love that. Some people love going through the same dungeon and dying over and over. And those people love the game Dark Souls.
Dark Scrolls, yeah.
Dark Souls.
Oh man, I tried Dark Souls. I was like, that's not my game. I want those. I want the casual playthrough where I feel like a badass on the first try. That's so much more my style of game. I like Far Cry, that kind of stuff. So,
oh man. Well, okay. Let's.
I actually have one more thing to add, if that's okay.
Go ahead. Of course.
Okay, this was based off of I had a little like spark like moment when you said, Frank, you said something about healing, right? And it like related to what I had spoken about earlier, wanting to like help people. And then I realized that this all stems from this Sona, the champion from League of Legends, who was ultimately a healer. And I really loved having that role in that game. I loved it, and like, I mean, I was badass too, but I also loved to be the support for my team. I loved it. So it's almost just like, before I was like, I wanted to be a real life Sona, and it's almost like I like have sort of cultivated that.
Yeah.
Video games influencing real life and changing lives.
Who would have thought?
Do you play D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons?
I do.
Oh,
I
awesome,
do a
awesome.
little.
Well, it's just because like we really wish more people who play D&D had that mentality of like going into a campaign wanting to be a support for the other characters and a healer and like play the game, because we deal with a lot of murder hobos sometimes, or people who are really just looking out for their character. At least that tends to be
Yeah.
the advice I often get asked on my Instagram around dealing with other players is how to handle those types of situations. So I just wanted to like, if you already play D&D, that is awesome, and we want to applaud more people to play D&D the way you're playing D&D with that same mentality.
It's true. Yeah. There's players who are like, I loot the body first, you know. I'm like, I loot all the
Exactly, right?
bodies. Yeah.
Although I wouldn't be surprised, Melanie, if in D&D you totally flip the script and you're like, so I'm actually a rogue warlock and I survive off the sustenance of my allies. So I actually take their life force to survive. Then I would be like, wow, okay. That was not seeing that coming, but also kind of did.
Well, that's what D&D is great for, is playing characters you're not really like. So, I mean, I love playing the people who I love playing barbarians because they get to be angry, and I rarely ever in my real life get to be angry. So it's fun.
Well, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next section here. This is what we kind of call it random rolls, and it's kind of it's a series of questions that are less serious and fun. You know, they're lighthearted. So we've talked a lot about business and whatnot, but in this section, what I'm going to ask is for you to roll a D100. Do you have a D100 or 2D10s lying around?
I do.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm right here.
So we're gonna do a few of these. So go ahead and roll the first ones.
Okay. I got 64.
Oh, perfect. All right. So in Dungeons and Dragons, wow, this is right off. It's almost like this was planned. What's your favorite class to play?
Oh, definitely Bard.
Oh,
I mean, duh.
Right on the money.
there we go.
Did we have to ask?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of boring to say that, but I always love playing Bard because they're, what is it? They do a little bit of everything, you know. I love that, you know. If I'm feeling like I want to be like versatile,
Yeah.
I love playing bards because you can be like silly. I'm really big on the charisma, so I love to like role play. I even have like little musical instruments that I'll like bring with me sometimes to our sessions, you know. I love to incorporate little props like that to make it fun. So, I'm that annoying player, who takes up the kalimba.
I may have broken out a kalimba or two on one of our sessions, so that's awesome. At least with a bard, it's like the prototypical support class. It's totally in alignment with what you've covered through this whole thing.
Before we move on to the next one, I wanted to ask, because the bard, there's often three types. I find there's the bard that is all about being a performer for the attention. There's the bard that kind of likes to go out and make a story for themselves, and then there's the bard that likes to seduce everything. So of those three,
I definitely like try to seduce everything.
Okay, all right.
And it never works.
Dungeon Master's favorite.
It never works.
But it's I mean, you have to. I mean, come on. I'm like, you gotta make things interesting because that's what makes it fun. So I always try to like do kind of push it a little and make things interesting and see what happens.
Yeah, there are many ways to solve a problem other than to swing a sword, and a bard proves that.
Chris has done that so many times. That's one of his best ways to get out of a situation. Well, let's do the next roll.
All right, second roll.
Okay, got 49.
You get to hunt one X-Men with Predator. Who are you going to hunt?
I actually am not too familiar with X-Men.
How about, are you familiar with Marvel?
Not really, not very much. No, unfortunately. I hope you guys still want to do the podcast.
I don't know. If you don't like Marvel,
Canceled.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm disappointed now.
No.
No,
Nope.
no.
Uh,
Actually, I'm not. I'm actually probably between the three. I haven't seen a Marvel movie in forever, so I'm not
Chris
super
can't
into Marvel.
stand the movies. He's
No.
over them.
No, I love
I
Dune.
think it's really cool. Oh, Dune is cool. Dune is fun. I recently, yeah, when I saw the movie that just came out, it was awesome. Like I get very into things when, and I watched the oh my God, I watched the movie that came out. What was it? In the 80s? It was by who's the guy who did Eraserhead? Where the heck was it David
David
Lynch?
Lynch.
Yeah, David Lynch.
Yeah, you watched the '84 Dune.
Yeah, and I was like, it's so funny because I know it is super controversial, but like it's just so funny why like David Lynch became the director. Like it just seems very different from the from the Dune like fan base. Like it's like what?
Okay, I have an interesting anecdote about that exact thing because, like,
Oh yeah?
okay, Dune is, the iconic movie, right? The iconic book from the '70s, right? And Star Wars came along and it like blew up the sci-fi universe, and then everyone at that time was anticipating who's going to direct the next Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. And they went around to a bunch of people, and their number one person was David Lynch, was supposed to direct
God.
Empire Strikes Back. And then what happened was he said, I'm going to go do Dune.
Oh
And he
my
turned
God.
it down. He turned it down because he didn't want to do Star Wars. And we all now have this huge Star Wars universe that got built off of the incredible awesomeness of The Empire Strikes Back being an amazing movie. And I can only imagine if you watched the Dune from 1984, the tone and the discomfort that David Lynch makes you go through watching that movie it would have just tanked the whole franchise, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think we're all very, very lucky that that David Lynch made that choice.
Yeah.
He turned it down. Oh my God. I can't, it's really hard for me to imagine like Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back with that Dune like 1984 Lynchian vibe to it. Like I can't imagine that because it's just so off the wall. Like he just went so surreal, ridiculous, which is fun, but like what a different vibe.
And I want to say something. Just like we're not slamming David Lynch as a director, we're just slamming that movie for being appropriate. Because like if you watch like Mulholland Drive or Lost Highway or Blue Velvet, I'm actually a huge David Lynch fan. And if you actually has a masterclass, okay, masterclass doesn't sponsor this podcast, so buy it if you want, but I'm not going to give you a code. But the thing is that if you actually go to the masterclass and like watch it, he talks about how he's turning like surrealist art, because he was actually a visual artist when he went to school, and he's now turning a lot of that expressionist or surrealist art onto film, and that's why his movies are so distinctly David Lynch and distinctly strange. He's a visual artist trying to do that on film.
Absolutely.
I do recommend people check out Lynch movies.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He is such a character. Like, did you know that he has on his YouTube channel, he has a number of the day where he like rolls like a jar and like out come these numbers, and he just reads the number, and that's the number of the day, and that's it. And he does it every day. And he's done it every day for years. And it's just totally quintessential Lynch. It's like, what? But it's like wow, it's almost like an art that like transcends our world. Like we just don't even understand it. It's like so it's just so like high and mighty. We'll never be able to comprehend the Lynchian mode.
And that's the point he's trying to make at the same time, I bet. Like I will say he has, speaking of atmosphere, we've talked a bit about atmosphere and music and how he creates such an incredible atmosphere during his movies, during his films, TV shows, using music. Like in Lost Highway still has one of the scariest like things I've ever seen in movies. Like if you don't like, it's not a horror movie. It's just very, very creepy and really, really weird. But I'm not only going to tease it because I'm not going to go explain the movie and I don't want to give anything away. I'm just going to tell people, go watch that movie if you want something creepy or scary. It's not gross. It's not that. It's just like you're going to be like, your eyes will pop and you'll be like, oh my God, that's creepy.
Oh, wow. Is it like psychologically creepy?
Psychologically very creepy. Like even in the first, like you don't even
wow.
have to get to it. Like the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, here's how it starts. Someone finds a VHS tape on their doorstep. They pick it up, they bring it in, they put it into their VHS player, and it's just a film of the front of their house.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, maybe this is just some real estate agent or something. And then
Oh,
they
I
go
hate
back
that.
the next day, and there's another VHS, and they put it in, and you're going to need to watch the movie to find out what happens.
Ooh.
I don't want to give any more, but it's like it's like
so cool.
the first 20 minutes. I highly recommend going in there and checking it out. He creates such crazy atmosphere.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, it's so like psychological, you know. But you were talking about like the music, like vibes of his films. I was thinking about Twin Peaks, you know, his
Twin
like
Peaks. How could I
famous
not forget that?
show from the 90s, and the musical like the whole kind of feel of it is this mysterious kind of dismal, eerie vibe, and the sound, the music, the soundtrack to it is like such a perfect like accompaniment. You know, if like I'm probably gonna listen to that like right after this, but it's just like it's so creepy, and I actually was gonna do a harp cover of it just to see how it
That
would
would be
sound.
awesome. Yeah, do it.
Well, I'll go ahead and take the moment here. We can now transition from the random rolls to the final section here. This is called the rapid fire. So pretty much these are quicker questions. They're also silly, but they're designed to get 1 or 3 word answers out of you. And sometimes we might be really curious and try to go more in depth. My favorite one to start off with is coffee or tea?
Oh my God, I love both. Oh, I can't choose. I can't choose just one. I love both of them. Is that allowed?
Kind of. If you
Kind-
elaborate on, do you drink either of them straight?
No.
Are you adding like copious amounts of creamer and sugar?
I mean, okay, well, I'll have green tea with some honey in it. And that's like, it's one of my favorite. I mean, I have tea every day and I have coffee every day. So I love, you know, I love drinks like that. So it's so hard for me to say I'm one or the other because I think I'm both. But I think if I had to choose, I would say I'm probably more of a tea person.
You know what? I'm in that boat too. Definitely have recently started to like coffee, but the thing is, I don't like coffee straight, so I'm more of a tea.
Oh, I don't like black coffee. I can't do it. It's too bitter.
Yeah.
I like black coffee. It's grown on me.
Good for you, Chris. You can keep it.
I used to only drink mochas, so I went through like a large part of my life only drinking mochas, like the chocolate and the sugar, and I loved them. And then I gave them up for a year, just as like I swear I'm just gonna give them up. I'm drinking too many mochas, and then I got into black coffee, and now that's all I drink.
Do you add sugar to it?
Nope.
Or just
No, I just
straight. Oh wow.
It's like my scotch. I just I want something that I can feel the taste. You know, like I want to know that it's hard.
I just want to feel something, damn it.
When you sip straight scotch or straight coffee, you know it's coffee. You know, like you got the. And they always say on the side of like the artisanal coffees, like, oh, it has hints of, you know, rose petal and honeycomb. And it's like, okay, I never noticed any of that. But now that I've been drinking coffee for a couple of years, I'm like, there's a little bit of this honeycomby taste. Like, I like things you have to work at to appreciate. And I think coffee is one of those things.
Wow. So you're a coffee snob now.
I'm a bit of a snob on a lot of things, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I try not to be publicly a snob, but I like a lot of those.
I am too.
Here's one. In D&D, role playing or combat?
Role playing.
Yep.
I love it. I love, you know, I love like being with a campaign with a group of people who also like to role play. Like sometimes we'll like dress up, and I mean that's not necessary, but I think it's just fun, I think it's really fun to just kind of be goofy, and sort of take on a different character. So yeah, role play for sure.
Nice. And then I gotta ask it. Every time I see this question, I gotta ask Star Trek or Star Wars.
Star Trek.
Oh, we got a winner. All right.
Oh
No one picked Star Trek in our podcast.
Really?
You are my favorite, Melanie. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Okay. So many questions that I want to follow up with, but I won't.
All right.
Except for I'm sorry, Chris. Sorry, but who's your favorite captain?
I actually have only seen like the one for the 60s.
I got my hopes up so high. I'm gonna be right back. I have to go cry in the closet.
I mean, I really like Star Trek for like what it stands for. Like it's just it's super kind of like ahead of its time and progressive. I think like I love that every episode, that there's I mean, gosh, it's really like deep. It goes beyond just like what happens. They deal with a lot of moral complications, like a lot of stuff that we're like facing today. Star Trek for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. I've always been more, and that's the reason I like Star Trek. Star Wars is like just flashy, cheap stuff with lots of graphics, and yeah, there's lasers and bright lights, but like Star Trek has the confidence to just take you down a long hallway and not need all that flashy fire to keep you interested. They're just gonna like keep trudging. And there's a few bad episodes. Because they're trying to do something. But sometimes it is amazing, and I think that's worth it. Anyway, you just found out we're both Trek fans. In case you weren't already on that, but we've been having to talk about Star Wars with all these other people, so we're a little bit excited. We've had an actual Trek person. All right, here's another one. How about here's a good one, because you have cats. How many cats is too many cats?
How many cats is too many cats? Actually, that reminds me of a quote from an artist who I really like. I don't know how familiar you guys are with like art or illustration, but there's this like a Gothic poet / illustrator named Edward Gorey. And Edward Gorey did these like really kind of dark, gritty Victorian illustrations. And he was totally an eccentric man. He like collected cheese graters, and he wore these huge, massive like fur coats. And I've always loved his art because it was always a little like different, a little strange. I love things that are strange.
I'm just looking at it now. It looks like a little bit like Edgar Allan Poe was drawing. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely, yes. And I'm sure that he was like very greatly influenced by Edgar Allan Poe, because he does a lot of like poetry in kind of a similar way. But well, he's very famous for this one book called The Gashly Crumb Tinies, and it's basically it's all it's morbid, and it's basically like how all of these children like die in very creative ways. Like A is for Amy, who fell down the stairs. B is for Basil, assaulted by bears. Yeah, but he just includes these very charming illustrations that go along with it. But it just totally satisfies any kind of like, gothic-y morbid. Anyways, he has a famous quote. Yes, and I believe his quote, I think he said that anything less than 7 is not enough, and anything like more than 7 is too much. He was such a cat person. He has so many. Okay, there's a lot of cat quotes, but I think that I think that that's just like, it's so absurd. 7 cats. Like, oh my god. But what? So what was the question?
Yeah, how many cats is too many cats?
I don't think it's possible. I think that you can, like the more the merrier. Cats for life.
That might be our top end answer so far. As many cats as we can fit in a room. That's the route you're going.
Okay. Gonna need a lot of litter boxes.
Yeah.
What is the most dangerous job in your opinion?
The most dangerous job? Oh my god, I don't know. like having a job? I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
really know how to answer that.
Something that were like pay you per hour.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good answer. Just
Yeah.
having a job.
Yeah.
What's the best munchie?
The best munchie? What, like when you have the munchies?
Yeah, or if you just snack food. I just used the term munchie.
For me, okay, so for me personally, what I crave, I love edamame. So I really love like Japanese food and like sushi, but like at home. Like you know what edamame is, right? It's like these like soybeans, and oh my God. And so I have a bunch of bags I keep in the freezer, and you just, you just take a handful, throw them in a bowl, toss them in the microwave, and then they're great because they're finger foods. You just, you use your fingers, and you can dip them into soy sauce is like my guilty pleasure. And I mean that is like the only and the best thing that I would ever desire when I need to snack. It's like it's always that one thing that I want.
Yeah, we haven't had that one yet, I think.
That's a
Great.
great suggestion, actually. I'm looking for those munchies that are not chips. So
Yeah.
edamame is a great idea.
Right. And it still satisfies that, like, with that sodium, that like salty factor because of the soy
Yeah.
sauce.
Mhm.
So yeah, it does that for me.
Well, Melanie, where can we have people find you and support you? How can we get our to your people?
Yeah, so I mean, I use multiple platforms. If you use Instagram, you can find me on Instagram, and I post. I'm very active on there. I do a song once a week, and then I do like a regular post, once a week. So I do 2 posts a week, and I also do like daily stories and interactive things. So that's definitely my main platform. If you're on Instagram, yeah, you can search Melegie, and I'll come up. And same handle for YouTube if you want to follow. I would appreciate, yeah, if you wanted to follow my YouTube too, because that's where you really get, my music, my videos. And then, of course, my Discord too, if you want to like be a part of the community. Anyone can join, we're like accepting of anyone, like really. So come say hello. My Discord is called Melegie's Dream World, and you can find it by going to my Linktree website. If you just Google Melegie, my Linktree will pop up, and it has all of my links, and my Discord is in there somewhere. So you just click on the Discord. Come say hello.
Awesome. And if people want to pay you money, you said you had a Patreon and stuff too? Is that a thing?
Yes, I do have a Patreon. I do. Yeah, Patreon is really big for me. I have, like so many messages on Instagram. The people who are my patrons, I like prioritize their messages a little bit more. So I still make an effort to talk to everyone, but people like on my Patreon are like actively supporting me and believe in me and want to see my success. So I like to engage with them. I make sure to really like get to know them and stuff. But yeah, Patreon is great. I do weekly doodles. I have behind the scenes. I do improv videos. So I'm just like, or sometimes I'll record a practice session. It's a way to see, the Melegie behind the scenes, the like, kind of daily life Melegie. So, and I also send out postcards. Like I actually just sent all of my patrons Valentines for Valentine's Day, just something fun, so like little things like that, to show my appreciation. But
That's awesome. That does sound like some great stuff. I mean, and you were a graphic artist, so
yeah.
your doodles aren't just stick people like what I would do.
Yeah, I'm also a painter too. So I have dabbled in the arts my whole life. So I like to draw and I paint, and I do like pen and ink. So Patreon is great. It's a great way for me to like, express a different side of my art.
Melanie, did you have a chance to think about a song that you might like to plug?
So, as far as like a Celtic piece.
Yeah, something that we could end the episode on.
So I think I would like to end with this piece called Carolyn's Dream. And Carolyn is a very well-known in Ireland, a very famous Irish harper, and he was actually a blind harper. And I think, in the 1600s, and he was a blind Celtic harper, and he basically spent his whole life just traveling around Ireland with his harp, and he composed music for people. I think he's like the national Irish composer, he's done so many classic Irish and Celtic tunes that some people might be familiar with, but he's kind of like the holy grail of Celtic music. So this is a beautiful song called Carolyn's Dream.
Thank you for listening to Nerdpreneur. Be sure to subscribe wherever you found us and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Every review helps our show grow. You can follow and chat with us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Nerdpreneur Podcast. Nerdpreneur is a labor of passion, and Chris and I would love to keep this thing going. So if you want us to continue making content, you can support us by going to patreon.com/nerdpreneur and become a member of the board. Members of the board get shout-outs, they can submit rapid-fire questions, they get behind-the-scenes peeks, and we record super fun and valuable content exclusive to our board members. We love all of you nerds. Keep it nerdy.
Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put the passion first, so let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.